actually. Good morning, Senator.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Morning, Jason. Sorry I didn't wear my suit today, Jason. Look as sharp as you.
I
This
know.
whole thing?
I know, right? Oh, I woke up like this.
But, I wish I had that beautiful poster you've had. I always compliment you on that, Senator.
Well, this is Kaha's poster. I'm just borrowing it, and I had the opportunity to show it behind me.
It's a great conversation piece.
That's a local artist. Who's the artist on that, Senator?
Darn it, it's on the back. Oh, no, wait. T. Hante. T. Hante.
Got it. T. Hante. Oh, yeah. They do the fish thing. Got it.
There you go. There you go.
Well, Senator, it was an interesting session yesterday, huh?
It sure was. I was wondering where it was going to go, but finally, I guess they had the votes to bring it back and have us in committee as a whole and find out more of how the situation happened. That seemed to be the majority's wishes, and that's where we started and left off with. I think we're on round 2 of the questioning. We may have one more round of that as well before we really get into the bill and discuss whatever other changes we want to make on 217, which by the way, the 217 is as introduced on the floor. It's not the one that if you were to go to the legislature website and pull up, that's not the one we're discussing. The bill is the one substituted on the floor, which had the amendments in it, additional amendments in it, versus the 217, which the original 217 as introduced is a duplicate of 130. So it changes to what we'll be discussing on the floor eventually.
Right, and so you have this bill that is introduced with Senator Amanda Shelton and Vice Speaker Tina William Barnes. What number is it again, Senator?
Let's see here. I think it's 220.
Yeah. And so this bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this bill that you have introduced along with Senator Shelton and Vice Speaker Tina William Barnes, is this basically the bill that was inadvertently sent over to the governor's office and signed into law?
We're looking at including the descendants, right? Yeah. Just not the not the descendant, but the descendants. And the reason why is because when 36, the public law that was wrongly done, engrossed, did include that, and it created a lot of conversation about including many folks that didn't have, or the descendants, rather that didn't have the opportunity for the descendants that were not allowed to file. So this brings it to conversation. The bill introduced by Senator Shelton we'll get a public hearing. I'm pretty confident of that, and we can have this conversation there to see what is the reaction of the public versus what we tried to do on the floor with the original Bill 130 with the amendments that got in incorrectly there. We should have a public hearing, I think, to discuss this, and what Senator Shelton's bill does is allow that process to happen. So we shall see as soon as we get a public hearing going and how far this bill would go. It could be amended at the public hearing in the committee, or may not even get further out of there, as I see many of my bills not get too further out of committee either.
Well, I don't know, because you got Senator Shelton and Vice Speaker Tina William Barnes with you on this measure, and their bills seem to have no problem at all getting out.
There you go. You need friends in the right places, and that's how what we call bipartisan measures. So I'm glad to be part of that. But I'm very interested in the conversation that we will be having at the public hearing for Senator Shelton's bill, and let's see what we can do. The bill also introduces some funding sources, Section 30 money, and also looking at some qualifying certificates or some tax rebates, or taking your taxes and paying it in advance for this purpose of adding to the pot to pay out these descendants of the or survivor or the war folks that were very, very much hurt during the war, and these are the survivors that could possibly, and their descendants could possibly getting some more funds for the grievances that they experience and the hardship that they experience. So I would like to see the bill move forward and have that discussion and see what happens from there.
It's interesting to me because we're currently, well, we haven't even started on this corrective measure, right? That's supposed to rectify the error that was made in the bill that was signed into law with the governor. So we're running this process, but the amendment that Speaker Terlahi had proffered that would have done what your bill is going to do was ruled materially different. So I was kind of thinking if they try and do that with this correction bill and it gets ruled materially different again, and then we end up just passing the thing without the amendment, and then you guys' bill comes in, and then that's going to, I mean, so are we like duplicating efforts here, or?
We won't know until we finally complete 217 as substituted on the, or as introduced on the floor there. So things could change once we get into that discussion and the amendments could be made, but the substitute version does repeal the public law. So it takes out that section that was messed up. There was another amendment that was included in the substitute version that made it through forming their, like the committee to review the applications that will be coming in. So that's still included there. But what will happen on the floor, that's going to be up to discussion. And we shall see if it does go through and there's enough votes to do that, it's possible. Otherwise, that's why we're looking at Senator Shelton's bill to address that issue and get it to a public hearing. That's the difference that we would like to see. And I think many of my colleagues push for a public hearing, especially on something that such important as this. There are quite a few people that are interested for this to happen. And likewise, I've heard opinions where many people are not interested for it to happen because the cost involved and the funding to be experienced or paid for to make it happen. So that's where we need the public hearing to really determine this. And the more voices that we get to speak out, written or come down and testify, the better. And then we can move forward on this and finally come to a closure, hopefully, with the right legislation. But I'll be interested to see, the final step after 217 here and whatever version we pass. It's going to go to the governor's desk once again. And the bill includes the main purpose of it is for the governor to come up with a plan. She had 30 days to draw the plan. There's some talk that we're delaying this process and reducing the time frame from the 30 days. I really don't think so, because the governor can do it in 30 days, or maybe she won't. As we've seen with the RISE Act, that was law that she let lapse into law and never took any action with it for months. But same thing could happen here too. So it's the legislation includes the main purpose is for the governor to come up with a plan within 30 days. If depending on how the body votes on 217, the substitute version on the floor, and the final product. Let's see what the governor is going to do, and maybe hopefully Chris will come on her show and explain what she plans to do from that.
You got jokes, okay.
Yeah.
Do you, Senator, do you plan on introducing an amendment to rescind the current public law?
I was explaining there's a substitute version of 217 that does not show on the legislature website. That's the bill we're discussing. The substitute version includes the repeal of the public law in that. The original one on the website was the duplicate of 130, which had no mention of that. But over the past weekend, a substitute version was introduced, and that was voted to be discussed on the floor. The votes were there to have that. That's where the public isn't really seeing all of this happen. So we could probably, I can see what we can do to have maybe the clerks include that on the website so you folks can have the opportunity to review. But I'll be happy to WhatsApp you at least that version that we're discussing. That includes the repeal of the public law.
Who introduced the substituted version? Is it still the speaker?
It still came from the speaker once again.
I see.
Yeah, originally it was the duplicate, so we can bypass the public hearing. That was there. And then after they passed that one over the weekend, they said through the committee and on the floor, they decided to introduce the substitute version of 217 from that point. I guess that administratively it can be done, but the whole idea was that it was able to avoid bypass the public hearing, and that it did, and we're still discussing it now with the repeal section in there. There was one other amendment that was still included that wasn't repealed, and that regarding a committee. The committee was supposed to review all these applications that were to come through. So that's still included in there with some minor changes too that I'll be looking forward to discussing on the floor when we get back into session at 1 o'clock today. So we're no longer talking about the original 217. We're talking about a 217 as substituted on the floor. And I'll send that to you, Bree.
Thank you. Whose responsibility is to make sure that it's posted on the website?
I'm understanding, since it's a discussion on the floor, and I kind of questioned that, was that it's in the making. So therefore, there's nothing to really. It will be changing. So it's not like we're discussing something specific. This is just with amendments adjusted until the point where it's actually completed. Then we can post that on the website. However, we can also still make the point and the argument that it should be posted now, so the people can see and pull it up on their by themselves on the legislature website. I can make that a request today, starting at 1 o'clock, to make sure. I think it will be helpful that the folks, especially in this case, that the people know what exactly we're discussing.
Yeah.
Were you satisfied with the line of questioning that your colleagues had with the clerk of the legislature? Did it give you insight into how this error happened, and maybe insight into how we could prevent it from happening again?
Well, I stayed in during the last presentation, and I was satisfied with what I saw in the written documents and the sequence. So if we didn't have this another round questioning with the clerk and with legal present, it wouldn't matter to me. I still felt responsible for looking over the bills as well. I didn't do as what I should have done, and that's my problem too. We could probably have the best rules and regs and SOPs, but that doesn't mean they're always followed, and sometimes pressure is there to complete things, and it's not an excuse, but this time it happened, and I just like to move on, get this done, because I had a bill that was pushed back from this session, moved to next session, and sometimes when you're in the minority, you don't want to see any of your bills pushed back to the following session because it may not happen. Things disappear as we see. So that will be another battle for me to get that back onto the floor for the session as well. So I need to move forward. Our period, I think, for the legislature of 2 years is just too short, and we just got to plow right through it. Get things done. And so to say I'm satisfied with what's going on, that's just the majority wanting that voted to let this happen. So we'll get through it, and we can finally finish the 217 as substituted.
Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll see you. 8:03.
I was just saying good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'll need that. Yeah, also for my football picks. I'll probably get better luck if you give me for my football picks. Okay.
Thank Jason for that.
All right.
All right.
I'll let you know.
Hey, it's 8:03. This is the link. Let's jump on over to KUAM TV and kick it up a notch. The link is brought to you by Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, IT&E, and Jack in the Box. Good morning.